Hey, there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, no doubt a moment a lot of you have been waiting for. The Liquid Boss is spawning in the top left position as the Red Terran. Some people have touted him to be the best Terran player on Earth at the moment. Let's see if his opponent ends up agreeing. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Taeja. And his opponent spawning in the bottom right position as the blue Zerg player. Incredibly unorthodox style of play. You notice that in PvZ, for example, he doesn't go fast 3 hatches. He likes to get his natural out and go really quick infestation pit before getting the third. Does all sorts of crazy stuff and can potentially take games off absolutely anyone. Representing Team Acer here at Dreamhack, we have Bly. This is going to be a pretty interesting matchup. Of course, I was casting Bly recently in Berlin as part of the EPS Berlin Open. Although, unfortunately, I think I was only casting a ZVZ and ZVP because, sadly, the Terrans in that tournament didn't progress very far. And as a result, we got to see some of Bly's really cool, unorthodox playstyle as we see a drone being sent out here early on for a bit of a scout. Although, interestingly, going to the 4th base location. So possibly just scouting for any sort of proxy racks over here, being rather thorough with his search. And in the meantime, we have another drone coming out, going to be going for that hatchery first. In the meantime, we have a barracks down in the natural expansion for Taeja. So trying to make Bly think that Taeja is going command center first. Raising the supply depot just in case the drone can't find a way out there. And Bly going to be scouting through the main base, sees there's no gas, and saw there was no barracks at the wall off, so he's just thinking to himself, well, where on earth is it? He's going to be scouting all of the main base before going down, and I suspect he will see when that first Marine pops out that, in fact, a barracks has gone down first. So things, looking surprisingly okay here, and Bly letting Taeja know that he knows exactly what's going on here. The command center even going down in presence of the drone, so he knows that a 1 Rax expand is forthcoming from our Terran hero. In the meantime, we have an SCV scout coming out from Taeja as well. Should be able to see that the hatch has indeed gone down first. Nothing too much out of the ordinary here. The spawning pool is nearly complete as well for Bly. And Taeja's going to want to just check out whether any gas has been taken. He'll see that no gas has been taken at this time, and the SCV now is just going to be the slightest bit annoying to try and pull off those drones mining at the close mineral patch. Actually doing quite a good job of that so far, and Bly really not reacting to it, but that's because he has 8 Zerglings on the way, so I think Taeja might want to get this SCV the heck out of dodge pretty darn quickly indeed. The barracks has now floated to the wall off at the top of the ramp. So things looking pretty normal over here, but we have a 3rd command center going down now for Taeja at the same time as double gas. So this is going to be very, very interesting. We have 8 lings out to try and do a bit of early harass from Bly. Do we have a bunker down at the front? We do not. Taeja might find himself in just a little bit of trouble here. He may want to get a supply depot down to try and stop this, but he's going to be the subject to a little bit of harassment at his natural right now. And I'm not sure these Marines are going to be able to stop 8 Zerglings, so that is a decent number coming up here. And there we go, Taeja immediately realizing he won't be able to do that. The Zergling's going to try and go up into the main base. He does successfully do so, and now pulling SCVs to try and deal with this threat. One of the Marines goes down, a couple of SCVs go down as well, 2 Marines go down, 3 Marines go down. All of the Marines, bar 1, are now dead. Number of workers killed is 2. Not a bad little attack coming out of there from Bly. He must be feeling pretty pleased with himself. You don't normally expect 8 lings to be popping in that quickly. Bly's not going for a kill move or anything like that. He just wants to get a complete and thorough scout off, sees that the 3rd command center is on the way. So let's see what Bly's response to that is. He's going to be getting both of the gases in his main base. Queen now out, of course, at both bases and injecting happily away. Cool little bit of harassment there from Bly, but Taeja's still going to go ahead and grab this 3rd command center. He's also getting the factory and the reactor down on the barracks now as well. So any potential ling run by once again might be met with a wall of Hellions, which means Bly has to be super careful. We have an Overlord here just going to potentially march in to see any tech if Taeja decides to put some down a little bit later on in the game. And we have a lot more queens here spreading an absolute ton of creep out into the center of the map, wanting to get as much notice as possible before an army actually hits. And that's going to be good as well, because we have a starport going down at the moment for Taeja as well. And if he elects, for example, to go for any sort of Banshee transition out of this Hellion plane, it looks like it might be, because the barracks is putting down a tech lab right next to the starport, Bly's going to have a decent number of queens to try and defend against that. So that's going to be really useful for him as well. 2 Marines getting shoved back by those 2 queens. No way they're going to be able to take on the might of those bosses of the Zerg base. We now have bunker and supply depot going down, a little bit of a Sim City back in Taeja's main, and Bly in the meantime is going straight up to lair and grabbing his Roach Warren as well. So are we going to see some sort of Roach timing, possibly with 1-1, thanks to these double Evo chambers, come out from Bly? Anything is possible when he is playing, but right now both sides just macroing up to their heart's content, and Caduceus Reactor, so a fake cloak getting put down here from Taeja. And he's going to try and kill this Overlord now. And as soon as the Overlord dies, I would not be surprised to see Caduceus Reactor cancelled. So he's trying to fake his opponent into thinking he's actually going for Cloak Banshees, when in fact Cloak is not going to be researched. Let's watch this Caduceus Reactor. And yes, immediately getting cancelled once the Overlord dies. So a little bit of a fake out there from Taeja, but look at this Bly spreading his creep towards the center of the map like an absolute boss. Needs to cancel that creep tumor, does not, but he still has an active one over here. There are 4 Hellions here trying to contest with the creep, and Bly now going to be going up to take his 3rd base. So Bly now going to be up to 3 bases. 1-1 is on the way. Melee for Zerglings. He's got his Infestation Pit on the way as well in the back of his main base. Glial Reconstitution and Tunneling Claws also on their way for Bly as well. So we could see some potential Burrowed Roach surprise attacks come in. And we now have the Banshee moving out on towards Creep. So Bly knows exactly where that Banshee is. Just going to be able to do a bit of harassment against this 3rd base. I think the Creep has spread far enough for Queens to get there. Yes, indeed. Would not be surprised to see them put down a couple of Creep tumors as well, just to gunk it up a little bit. But here we go. The Queen's going to be doing a bit of damage to the Banshee. They think the Banshee has Cloak, but we all know the Banshee does not. And oh, killing off those Creep tumors, even bringing an Overseer with this army. That's exactly what Taeja wanted him to do. Use those minerals on an Overseer in case of the Cloak there, but it looks like Taeja is going to be moving out at this time and just heading back, sensibly staying on the edge of Creep, breaking down the destructible rocks between his 2nd and 3rd bases and just prodding around the edge of Creep there with his Hellions. Great denial of Creep so far as the Banshee now pops back in to the high ground near the 3rd base location. SCVs are now populating the 3rd base. The current worker count, by the way, is 64 to 47 in favor of Taeja at the moment, who did get that fast 3rd command center and has been macroing up on stop. Basically, these Hellions and the Banshee have been the only units he's been poking around with on the map. 2 Banshees are now joining the fray, and they will be able to get a decent amount of damage done to this hatchery before the Queens can actually pop back from spreading that creep. They should have transfuses available to them if they have energy, but they don't at the moment. But a 3rd Queen is popping by as well, so there's no way these Banshees are going to be able to quite survive this attack. That Queen has enough energy for a transfuse. And here we go, a little bit of poke into the 3rd base by Roaches there, thanks to Bly, and the rocks coming down just in time. But will Taeja be able to hold this? A lot of SCVs going down now. He was trying to macro it unbelievably hard, and a decent number of workers have just been killed over at the 3rd base. Workers killed 14 to 0 at the moment. A nice little poke there from Bly, but the worker count is still surprisingly similar, 54 to 57. And are these Roaches just going to be able to steamroll it through? The 2 Banshees are now back, but the Roaches are honey badgering it. They do not care that there's a lot of army here. He really just wants to kill off as much as humanly possible, and now he's going to be running away, but the Banshees are going to ensure that that won't happen. Nice little burrow of the Roach there at the 3rd base location, preventing the command center from moving down again, and he does escape with 4 Roaches. Good little poke there from Bly, who is currently 83 supply to Taeja's 91. And he probably should move at some point soon, because really those Banshees aren't going to take no for an answer. We have got 2-2 on the way now for the melee and carapace upgrades here from Bly, doing a very good job getting a macro hatch at his 3rd base as well, and a Queen now here to protect and potentially transfuse the hatchery if necessary, but it is slowly regaining its health back up to 500 of 1500 so far. We can see he's going up to a hive in his main base, and the Spire is coming down, so potential Broodlord transition, if desired later on in the game, will be very useful. Of course, not quite as useful against a lot of Marines as opposed to in ZVP where you see them all the time, but still a possibility here, and unfortunately more creep getting denied here outside at the center of the map here for Bly. So Taeja doing a good job of continuously denying the creep and now using scans to do it as well, and that's going to trigger a little bit of an attack from Bly. Moves out with all of his queens and a bunch of lings, actually picking out a large group of that bio there. Excellent fungal growth going off on a decent amount of that, and the medevacs are being forced to run away because of the presence of those queens in the fungal growth, and all of the bio from Taeja there gets picked up. Really, really nice stuff coming out of there from Bly, and now he's re-spreading his creep out into the center of the map before the creep resins. I like that a lot. Fourth command center going down now for Liquid Taeja. The Hive and the Spire are both about to complete for Bly, so we'll be watching to see if he intends on going to Greater Spire Tech soon indeed. In the meantime, Double Engineering Bay researching those upgrades, going up to 2-2 at the moment. Factories building siege tanks. We have medevac, so Marine siege tank. Medevac appears to be the order of the day for Taeja, who once again is moving out across the middle of the map. 1-1 upgrades on the Marines, none on the siege tank at this moment in time. And the Infestor is stuck out in the middle of the map here from Bly. He needs to be so careful with that. A nice transfuse on one of the Infestors. Actually, unfortunately, one of them going down to a bunch of Marines as well. As Taeja once again pushing out onto creep. Bly getting ready his response. Taeja with a scary looking army here. And a great fungal growth. It looks like now is going to be the time for Bly to move in. Or is it? The fungal kills off a decent number of Marines, but Bly moving back into his natural expansion. Now the third base is left slightly exposed. Here comes Bly again with another group of lings from the third base. Two of the tanks were caught unsieged out in the front. That could give him a little bit of a foothold. The lings picking apart a couple of tanks in the background. Only the bio army is left. Do we see a fungal growth on the rest of this bio? And not quite yet. We need to wait. He's regrouping once again to see if he can pick Taeja apart, but now he's going to be going against the macro hatch at the third base location. This is looking pretty darn difficult for Bly indeed, but here he goes. There's the fungal growth we were waiting for. The queen's now coming up to try and take apart, but reinforcements coming in from Taeja, and Bly looking like he's getting completely pushed back into his natural expansion. There are roaches coming in from the third as well, so Bly might be able to sandwich this, but the sheer firepower coming out from Taeja is a decent amount at the moment. Those roaches at the back get picked up, and he is moving forward into the natural. Bly looking like he's struggling to hold on here. The medevac's leading the charge, 159 to 96 supply, and Taeja looking like he has a very, very strong foothold in this game number one. Bly has taken his fourth and fifth bases while we were talking there, but his unit production is predominantly at his main and natural at the moment, and he is struggling to contain this. There aren't much energy left on the medevacs, and that could be beneficial for Taeja, because really not much healing is going on. Another sandwich effect, but we've got two siege tanks in the back here for Taeja, just doing such a good job with his position, trying to do so much with so little, and being so cost-effective with his units. And look at this. We have a couple of roaches trying to harass the fourth base, but Planetary Fortress and siege tanks say no to that, and we have reinforcements incoming from Taeja as well. He's now going to be sieging up the third base and continuing with a bunch of siege tanks at the natural as well. Just going to keep Bly in his base for as long as possible, and these two hatcheries are definitely going down. Taeja now at 173 supply to the 85 of Bly as more reinforcements coming in to the fifth base location. Bly having to defend on a lot of fronts at the moment, but he simply does not have the resources to do so. Sadly, he is falling apart at the seams, and Taeja completely relentless with this attack. That fifth base hatchery is going to go down. The natural expansion still has amusingly a tank there, but this roach will take care of that now. But the third base is completely obliterated. He can go up the ramp here via the destructible rocks if he wishes. It's not going to be enough though for Bly. GG, and Liquid Taeja wins game number one.